Good evening, and welcome to the 10th day of the 46th Mill Valley Film Festival. One more day to go, but the films will keep coming up until the last minute, and we have a credible program for you tonight. We have Carol Doda, Topless at the CONDOR, a local subject, a very important local subject, and local filmmakers. And we are so honored to have this film here after it's come off of a very successful festival showing at the Telluride Film Festival. So we have with us tonight Marlo, McKenzie, and Jonathan Parker, the co-directors. I want to thank tonight's sponsors, the San Francisco Chronicle and the Mays Charitable Fund, two very important sponsors to us. Generous sponsors, and we're so happy that you could be part of this community here. This is a really incredible story, one that is local but resonated nationally, and I think it still resonates to this day in terms of how it dealt with the perception of women and their rights as well. And it was an incredible time, both in San Francisco, and that spread around the country, if not the world. So without further ado, please welcome the directors of Carol Doda, Topless at the CONDOR.
Thank you, Mark.
Hello.
Thanks, Mark. And thanks to the Mill Valley Film Festival for inviting us. This is our hometown festival. In fact, our offices where this movie was made are probably 200 feet behind the stage here. And it's really very exciting to be able to present this slice of San Francisco history to you. It was this story took place a long time ago. You can tell how long a time ago because it's in 1964 the Republican Party actually chose San Francisco to be the host city for their Republican National Convention. It was that long ago. Anyway, thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Yes, thank you so much. We really appreciate that you came to see this movie. And I just wanted to say that in 1963, Betty Friedan wrote a book called The Feminine Mystique. Some of you might have read it. And it had a really powerful effect on the people at that time. And one of the quotes she wrote in there that I'll paraphrase that I really love is, she said that for a person to truly know themselves, it's important to take part in a creative activity for themselves. And so in that time, women didn't have that many outlets to be creative and share their creative voices, but this was Carol's way to do that. And I feel so grateful that you're here to see this and to learn more about Carol Doda. So thank you so much.
Please welcome Marlo, McKenzie, Jonathan Parker, and Lars Ulrich.
Hey.
Welcome, and thank you so much
you.
for sharing the film with us.
Thank you. Yeah, we wanted to just call out a couple of, we have a lot of cast in the audience tonight, and we just wanted to say hello and have them wave. First off is Benita Mattioli and Pete Mattioli. Pete was the original club owner when Carol started dancing, and Benita is his wife, and she wrote a wonderful book that we used in the film. And so Pete and Benita, can you guys just wave over there? I assume there they are. We also have with us, and they came all the way from Zihuatanejo in Mexico, Jimmy and Judy Mamu. Can you guys a little wave? There they are, right in the middle.
We have a few other people in the audience. We have Marcia McGovern, who you saw in the movie. Oh, there she is.
Hey, Marcia.
Yay. Marianne Schiltneck, way back there. Dina Moore, Carol's cousin. Saw her earlier, back there. George Faulkner.
There it is.
And I'd also like to, Wednesday Martin is here. And we have a few people on the team who helped out, Richard Beggs, Eric Christensen, Malia Mamou are also here. All right. Thank you so much. We couldn't have made this without you, clearly.
Again, amazing film. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Marlo, it's a wonderful time capsule of a period that I think many of us either remember or weren't around to remember. What motivated you to actually make a film about Carol?
Well, this is a little bit more Jonathan's story, so I'm gonna pass it to him first.
Please.
This is the 25-plus year odyssey of bringing a movie about Carol Doda to the screen. So when Carol retired from dancing, she opened a lingerie store on Union Street, which you saw in the film, and I rented her the store because our company owned that building. And so in kind of, it's almost like in keeping with Carol's incredibly random way of inventing this career for herself, that's how we met. And I was, a budding filmmaker at the time, and I heard Carol Doda was very famous, but I didn't really know that much about her story, and I started to research it a little bit and just was really struck by this confluence of random events that caused this career. This woman danced on a piano and that descended into a nightclub, and there was a monokini bathing suit that was invented, and there was a Republican convention, and then there was a song called "The Swim," and it just seemed like, wow, that seemed like a pretty great story. So I told Carol, I thought, hey, let's make a movie. I followed her around for several months doing script research, and we went to some very strange events together, including a transvestite ball with 300 very large men in ball gowns and full beards, and 300 of them, and Carol and I, anyway, so I played a couple of gigs with her. She was singing "All of Me" and with a small combo in various places, and we got pretty far along. We were going to do a life rights story, but ultimately it didn't come to pass, and I kind of just put the project in a drawer until Marlo found it.
Yes, that's where I come in. There was a drawer of ideas, and I found the Carol Doda idea, and I didn't know who she was. Maybe some of you didn't know who she was either. And when I just started reading about her, I was immediately like, wow, we have to do this. She is such a complex person, right? And I feel like she has helped to bring to light so many things for me that I've learned. I love the way she challenges our ideas around nudity, especially, and body shame. That I think body shame, right, in America, that's an amazing topic to talk about. And so there are so many things that she brings up that we can talk about. I was just like amazed and really excited to dive in.
And you are co-directors, so what does that mean when it comes to collaboration? Is it division of labor? Is it some enthusiasms that are better and some experiences better? How does that working relationship for the two of you, how did that work?
Well, Marlo knew how to make a documentary. So I had made 4 narrative indie features prior to that, and when I was talking to Carol about a film project, it was not going to be a documentary. It was going to be a narrative, kind of a biopic, I guess you could say. The documentary filmmaking and narrative filmmaking is completely different. I mean, it's almost like a documentary is like backwards filmmaking to me. It's, you know, I'm used to writing a script and shooting the script and then editing according to the script. And in a documentary, you gather footage together and then start writing. And so it really was, it took me a while to adjust to it. So Marlo was really kind of driving the ship in terms of, you know, the filmmaking process. And
Well, yeah, we had a really great collaboration because Jonathan and I have like very distinct, I guess we complement each other in terms of our skill sets, right? But, and also I was actually listening to a podcast about, that you had done, Lars, and the compromise thing comes up. We're both like very good at just like understanding each other and knowing what's important for one person, and like if something was important for Jonathan, I would let it go, and if something was important for me, he would kind of let it go. So we were really good at compromise, and you had mentioned that, and like that's how you have had this band for so long that's so successful, and I was like, it's kind of the same, right? Although we're not Metallica exactly.
Compromise is a key ingredient in any partnership, in a collaborative partnership, absolutely.
And so how did you first get involved, Lars, and at what point were you contributing to the shape and the tone and the flavor of the film?
That's still in the future. But no, I've known Jonathan for about 15 years, give or take, and I was on tour somewhere back east, and it was a day off, and I went to see, there was a big buzz around a movie that was played, maybe it was Chicago. I went and saw a movie called Untitled, parentheses, Untitled, and it just completely blew me away, and at that time, letter writing, it was still something, at least in my world. And the next couple of days, I wanted to reach out to this filmmaker and tell him how much I appreciated this experience and the script and the direction and the film that I saw. And I sent him, I somehow found the address through the offices or whatever, and it turned out that his mailing address was in San Rafael. And I lived in Tiburon at the time. And it was like, wow, this guy's in my backyard. So I wrote him the letter, and he was kind enough to write back. And so 15 years, we've been friends. And within a few dinners or a few drinks, the idea of some level of collaboration and creative endeavors came up. And so we've been looking at various projects since then, really. And there was a film that Jonathan wrote and directed a 5 years ago, give or take, called The Architect, that I was also somewhat involved in on the production side. And I help. What do I help with? What do producers do? I bet when you sit and look at these credits all week long, like what do the producers do, and what the executive producers do, and what do the line producers do, and God knows. But I make a few phone calls, and I try to connect people and open some doors and throw some ideas around and become a bouncing board and read scripts and give script notes and help get some musical things, over the finish line, and give comments and whatever else. Kind of definitely hover in the background, which is where I like to hover in film projects. But I've, like I said, I love Jonathan, and obviously this project kind of came. There was a few other things bouncing around. I don't know if I had liberty, it doesn't matter what they are, but so this kind of came a little unexpected, and like Jonathan was saying, initially was felt like it could be a biopic type of thing, and then it took a radical turn, and Marlo came on, and then it became what you've seen now. And as somebody who's lived in San Francisco for I guess, 40 years this year, and our band is based in San Francisco, proudly so, and fly the flag of San Francisco all over the world, and we champion San Francisco and its values and its history and its aesthetics and everything that it represents. Isn't it, by the way, crazy to imagine that for 1 second, just close your eyes and go, there was a Republican convention in San Francisco. How fucking crazy is that? Anyway, so as somebody who's such a fan of San Francisco, when Jonathan suggested that this project take the kind of shape that it has, I was the first in line to help and want to be a part of it at any level that I could. And actually, interesting side note, the very first show that our band played back in 1983, the first show that we played in San Francisco was just a couple of doors down from the CONDOR on the same side of the street on Broadway, maybe 6-8 doors down, I guess further east at the Stone. And we subsequently played shows across the street at the Mabuhay Gardens. And certainly at that time, 83, 84, that part of Broadway really was, as hard as it is to believe now, that part of San Francisco really was kind of the entertainment ground zero. So, you know, that was 40 years ago, but it's just, I'm super proud to be part of this partnership and sort of connect the dots and looking forward to other endeavors that Jonathan has up his sleeve at some point. There you go.
Yeah, Lars actually, Lars introduced us to ultimately the company that is going to distribute the film, so it is going to come out theatrically. It's through a company called Picture House, and so that was a nice call.
Bob Burney, the legendary.
Marlo, the scope of the film is so impressive just because it ends up having intersections with political, cultural, financial, sexual flags that were really critical to what was happening in America and in the Bay Area in that time. Was that the original intention, to take on so many different subjects, or did it seem inevitable the more you learned about Carol and her career?
Yeah, I feel like with documentaries, it's really an uncovering process. So you might have like kind of an idea going in, but you don't totally know how it's going to happen. And I feel like the story starts to talk to you and kind of like lead you down the pathway. One thing I would like to mention is Benita Mattioli's book, 3 Nights at the Condor, was really a huge help to us in uncovering the story. And I encourage you all to check it out if you're interested in diving more into the history of kind of what happened on the street, more from Pete's point of view. But I don't know, what else would I say? It just kind of unfolded.
Well, I mean, we decided to, go down a few different paths with the film because it was really kind of a life and times. It's hard to, Carol needs to be put into a context, and there was so much going on in San Francisco. She kind of came out of this, what I call the Rat Pack era, really, with her, and her relationship with Frank Sinatra. I mean, that was like, that's kind of what she sort of grew up with, and what she really aspired to be as a nightclub entertainer in that vein. But of course, what happened in San Francisco shortly thereafter is this whole other thing, and the hippies moved in, the summer of love, and so you really, in a very, very short time span, watched a tremendous cultural shift, and it continued to shift, and even into the 80s when Metallica was playing at the Stone in the early 80s. That was kind of like we were on the darker side of the shift that had gone on, and so I kind of feel like that arc is something that happened in probably every American city during that period. There was this this kind of, you know, youthful optimism and of a new way and a rejection of a lot of cultural attitudes from earlier eras. And then it kind of had its arc. It got popular, and then it got darker. And I think you can probably see that trend in almost every American city at that time.
We're going to open it up to some questions from the audience, but please give me an opportunity to repeat the question, because we are having a video team here, and that way everyone can hear the question before our guests answer. So anyone want to ask a question? Yes, right here.
What's the name of your band?
We're still a work in progress. Hopefully our better days are still ahead of us. It's this band called Metallica. Yeah.
And that's Marsha McGovern asking that question there.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I hope we pass the audition.
Anyone else? Yes, right here in the back, over on the side.
I feel like Ken Burns has it easy because he just needs a stack of stills and Peter Coyote. How did you and your archival researchers find all this archival?
A question about all the archival research, especially the photography, I'm guessing.
So we had an amazing archival producer, Jennifer Petrocelli. She was really the person who led the archival effort, but also our editor, Jennifer J. Mayer. She found a lot of things. It took quite a while. We had a team of 3 or 4 people, and then Jonathan and I were also looking for archival research. And there's just like amazing resources here. San Francisco State has a wonderful resource that we really hope can stay around. I guess that there's a danger it might close to the public. But yeah, it just took a lot of teamwork and uncovering, and there was, maybe you want to talk about the one we found last minute?
Yeah, I mean, stuff kept coming in. I mean, we were trying to finish the film, and people kept, you know, we would find stuff, and people would send us stuff, and people heard about the movie and sent us stuff. And one thing that came in really late in the process was a VHS tape that the guy who told us about it had bought at an estate sale, and the person who died was a television cameraman, and he had filmed at the Condor Carol's performance, and it was his birthday, I guess, and she was doing a little birthday tribute to him, and so, you know, just really off the wall kind of sources that ended up popping in that made us kind of like, you know, recut, you know, segments of the film really quite late in the process.
Any other questions? Yes, right here.
Did you find any material, because growing up in San Francisco, Carol Doda and Kenny the Snake.
So the question is, did they discover any information about Carol Doda and Ken Stabler from the Oakland Raiders who were involved at the time?
Well, there were several Oakland Raiders that Carol was involved with that we found out about.
Just limited to him.
There were quarterbacks, there were receivers. Actually, she had a funny story with you know, she met Joe Namath, and Joe Namath was you know, quite the player, I guess. And she said, you know, well, he's a quarterback. He made a pass. I mean, he made a pass at me. You know, what do quarterbacks do?
Yes. Okay, let's right here.
So, Marlo and Jonathan, did you have any parts of telling her story that you disagreed with? And what was it, and how'd you resolve it?
That we disagreed with?
I can tell something it worked out well. Right at the very beginning, we weren't sure if the arc should be, I thought the climax should be the court case, and you thought it should be more the like silicone injections. So we were like very uncertain at first, but then we finally decided to go with the way it is now, and I think that was the right choice. So,
well, I'm not sure it was a question of the climax. It was a question of like, you know, because the court case was, you know, 65, black and white, and because she was, you know, the silicone thing was more of like a 10-year several year effort. It seemed like, yeah, we were debating what order we should present that material in. So I guess that was a little bit of a debate we had.
Was there any parts of her life that you questioned whether you should include out of either discretion or out of just how appropriate it would be for the subject of your film in terms of its arc?
Yeah, I mean, I had, well, I did a lot of research on vintage porn sites, you guys, and I researched, and I found there were like photos that were really way too far, going way too far. I had something else to say, but what was the question again?
Was there anything that was maybe a little too off limits for you?
Oh, well, for some reason that jogged my memory that when we were editing, one interesting moment was when there was a shot where she was getting her injections, and someone, I think Polly says that, and then she was just right, and we had a shot of just right with Carol, and then we had realized in the editing process that as the filmmakers we didn't want to show what was just right for size, and that was, I mean, it's sort of related to what you're saying in that we had to kind of, just really decide on the order of shots and how long to hold on shots, and really like get into like how much we don't want to be judging, and just like make sure we're stepping back into an observer position as much as we can. And so that was definitely something we thought about a lot in how we picked shots.
Oh, please.
Well, I was going to mention that we did, we don't say much about what her children and her daughter, who I guess did actually live with her for some period of time. We don't really have too much information, but she did pass away pretty young. Her son is still around, and Marlo spoke to him, and he really did not want to participate, and in fact was obviously, I mean, this is a guy who's like, I don't know how he's 60s, and he seemed to still be really feeling a lot of hurt from his childhood, and so we did not push him to be on camera or do an audio interview.
Yeah. Final question. Yeah, let's right up here.
Thank you for this wonderful film. I just wanted to know, archivally, the Father Miles Riley interview, was that his television show, or was it through the Archdiocese? How did you get it?
So ask me about the Father Miles Riley interview.
So one of our researchers, Michelle, found that, and I don't actually remember the details, but I thought that was his show. I don't actually know much more than that, sorry.
It looks like a kind of a cable access type show, or an independent TV show. It's obviously not like a major, network production there, but yeah, he's an interesting guy. I think he's still around, and he was sort of obligated to retire at a certain point. He had a complex future in the church.
We will not get into that.
That's never good. Forced to retire.
So what are the plans for the film next, as far as any additional festival trajectory or plans for distribution or streaming?
Yeah, the film is going to come out theatrically, and it'll probably be February, March. And yeah, thank you. And then we'll just see how things go. But I'm sure it will then move on to ancillary outlets and hopefully a streaming outlet. We don't have any other festivals booked yet, but I think there probably will be some international ones once we get to that stage.
And a website that you guys have?
Yeah, what?
I should know. I think it's caroldodamovie.com.
Which at this point may just direct you to the Parker Film Company website, but our distributors are kicking in next week, and so I'm sure we'll have a little bit more of elaborate setup shortly.
It's all very local, trust me.
Well, Marlo, Jonathan, Lars, thank you so much for sharing the film with us. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sterling.
Thank you for coming out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.